Next is an amazing story about a couple who did something radical, you guys. They sold their house to pay off debt. So let's take a brief look at their story before I have them come on.
We were poor when we were first married.
My card got declined at a fast food restaurant one day. So we met in college.
We got married in October 10th, 2009. I didn't really have knowledge about what that meant to have student loans. So we lived off of student loans.
We went through Financial Peace University within 6 months of being married. So we finally got on a budget, and we've been budgeting for 7 years. But one of the things we never talked about was how much debt we had. And I would try and present it to Steph, and she'd just brick wall.
Yep.
Just, no, I don't want to know the number.
Mm-hmm. I felt a lot of shame because I was the one that carried the bulk of this debt.
With student loans, we had $137,000. And then last fall, our daughter was having trouble breathing. Ended up being a 3-night stay in the Vanderbilt ICU. And so that racked up about $5,000 worth of medical debt.
Even though I was obviously very present with my daughter, in the back of my mind, I was still thinking, oh no, I know this is going to be an expense and we already have this huge amount of debt.
A couple months later, we were looking at how we were going to debt snowball this thing and what could we sell, what do we do? And then she came to me.
I just had this, I don't know if it was vision or what it was, but just this thought of, what if you sold the house?
That would leave us with like $35,000 in debt. We could snowball that quickly. And that presentation of the question was what got me on board.
Wow, what an incredible story. I love these kinds of stories where people do something that's so difficult and so different than what the world says they should do, and it pays off. Literally. So here I brought in Taylor and Steph to join me because I just want to dive more into their story. So thanks you guys for being here.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, y'all sold your house to get out of debt.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yes. Okay, I want to dig into that because that's just huge. But first, majority of your debt was student loans, right?
Yes.
Okay, and how much total again? Was it? $137,000. So when you signed up for student loans, I'm just curious, like, what was your thought as you're going into it? Like, did you have any idea the repercussions later in life?
Yeah, so the majority of those student loans were mine. And
It's okay, Steph. You're getting through it.
Yes. I chose to go to 2 private schools for my bachelor's and my master's degree. And my parents owned a farm and just couldn't afford to pay for that. So that was the majority of our debt. I didn't understand. I mean, your brain's not even fully formed at 18, let's be honest.
Right. I've heard that. Yes.
So I didn't even understand what that looked like later on in life. Once we got married, we had to live off of some of those student loans.
Yes.
So we took out even more than actually what was paid for just through education.
Yeah, totally, which is so normal. Like, I'm hearing that more and more that people are doing that, and the repercussions of it, they don't know at 18. You guys were great because you guys budgeted together pretty early on, right? So were y'all always on the same page, do you feel like?
No. My card got declined. We had no idea what we were going to do. So we called my parents, and they bought us a Financial Peace University kit, sent it to us. It took me a while still to kind of get into it.
So you guys have been married a little over 8 years.
Yes.
So what year was this?
This was 6 months
Within
in.
6 months.
Okay, so you're newlyweds.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we're newlyweds, don't have any money, have no idea how we're going to pay for anything.
And did you guys start budgeting more together after Financial Peace University?
I did it after Financial Peace University. I am he's the free spirit. And I am the planner. Like, I did a lot of the budgeting at the beginning. We had some conversations, but not until fairly recently did we get really serious about where we were as far as debt snowballing goes.
Yes, because you guys budgeted together, but you weren't necessarily talking about the debt, which I think is so interesting. Okay, so what prevented both of you? Because I heard a little bit of like shame because you're like, all the student loans were mine. Like, you already like just confessed to that. But so was that a lot on your part, or like why didn't you guys talk about the debt?
Anytime I would bring up debt snowballing and kind of starting to tackle that amount, I would go to tell Steph the amount, and she would shut it down. Didn't want to even know what the number was.
Because why? Because it was so overwhelming.
It was so overwhelming. And I'm the type that I want to achieve. And I was afraid, like, I just didn't see an end. I didn't see an end. And if I can't see an end, then I don't even want to know what it is.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to know the number. And there was a lot of shame associated with that amount for me.
So you guys shifted, though, the conversation, obviously. And so when that shift happened, it really was a cause because of your daughter being in the hospital, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Annabelle got really sick to the point where she was struggling to breathe.
Which is so terrifying anyways. I mean,
Yes,
horrible.
it was awful.
And how old was she?
She was 15 months, I believe. So I took her to the pediatrician. Pediatrician sent us to hospital, and then we eventually got transported through ambulance to Vanderbilt.
All of these things were happening, and we had started the discussion at that point of
Selling the house.
Yeah.
Just came to the point where we were like, we have to do something. We have to do something. We can't just sit here with this mountain of debt.
Yes. Okay. So the discussion of selling the house came up, which is like amazing of what you guys did, but it's extreme, like, right? Like a lot of people, and you may be watching thinking like, I'm not going to sell my house to get out of debt, but talk about the benefits of it. I mean, talk about like, okay, when you first had the idea, I know one of you was not on board, right? You weren't, right? Yeah. Because it was so extreme in your mind, or what was it?
Yeah, so the first time she asked the question, she asked, do you want to sell the house and move to an apartment?
You're like, and no.
No, absolutely not.
Because y'all have 2 kids at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we just didn't even talk about it. I shut it down. That's not even something we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So a few months went by, and she asked it again.
I think it was just the presentation of, hey, we have this much in equity. We had about $100,000 in equity.
Yeah.
We have at that time, $37,000 in student loan debt. So if we sell the house, I mean, we still would have some to pay off, but that is a ginormous mountain that we would have conquered, and we can rent a place. And that's when the wheels started turning, and I could tell Taylor was like, okay, you know what? You might be onto something here.
So when it came to actually selling, I'm just curious, did it sell quickly? Yeah. He's like, yes.
Yeah, we were under contract in 30 hours for $5,000 above asking.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when that happens, and you get the offer and you're like, okay, we're about to sell our house. Emotionally, like, is that sad for you? Because I always think about moving out of the house that you brought your babies home to. Is that the same place? And it's like all these memories, and you know you're about to do this amazing step, but it's an emotional thing to sell your home. So how was it? Were you guys just like gung-ho about it, or what?
We had to find a place to live.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything lined up.
I had an emotional moment after we accepted the offer.
Yes.
But it was a moment because I knew just what the ending would look like. And I knew at that point that we just had so many confirmations of peace throughout that process that that's exactly what we were supposed to do.
Okay, so what have been like the biggest changes so far?
Well, on March 7th, we walked out with a check of over $100,000, and that was incredible. For a while, we just like would check
so
our
crazy.
bank account and be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We have this amount of money. Our bank account, we'll never have it again. But, well, maybe it will. So we paid off a substantial amount. We completely paid off Annabelle's medical bill,
Wow.
which was over $4,000. And then we paid off how much in student loans now? Probably $100,000 in student loans.
We've paid off $105,000 total.
Okay, so I have to ask, like, was it worth it?
Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
And the relief you felt, is it everything you thought it would be?
I think it's been more.
Yeah, we were looking at 20, 30 years of being debt-free. And now we should be totally debt-free within a couple of years.
I mean, absolutely incredible. I'm not kidding you. The amount of sacrifice you did, and just to think of how quickly you're going to get out of debt and your kids' lives, I mean, everything around it. It's really a decision that not a lot of people want to make because they're scared and probably intimidated by the idea. And you guys stepped into that, even with a little bit of fear and maybe even a little bit of, and you did it. And for you guys out there watching, maybe some of you are hundreds of $1,000s in debt, and you're sitting there thinking, it's going to take us 20, 30 years to pay this off. And maybe you choose to make a decision from being inspired by their story of like, hey, we are going to sell our house to do this. Or maybe some of you, it's just sacrificing lifestyle. But no matter who you are, if you're looking to sell your home, make sure you find someone in your area that you trust. And I have agents all over the country that I recommend. And these agents can get you close to $5,000 more at closing. And your home is only on the market for 10 days on average. I mean, seriously, these people are amazing. So make sure to click the link in the description below. Well, thanks you guys again for being here and sharing your story. I mean, absolutely incredible.